What's up guys, it's Birdman and we're here in Kerbal Space Program and we're trying to build a space station and at the same time show you how to do it. So today's episode is going to be about adding power, or a source of power rather, and to a space station and rendezvousing items in orbit. So let's bring our UI back because the intro bit is over now. So here we have the solar array. It consists of 8 large solar panels and a small sort of docking body, if you like, with the docking ports just there, and the 2-man crew are in here, but they can be transferred to the habitation modules once they arrive, blah blah blah. So first things first, the number one thing to do when you're trying to rendezvous 2 items is to set the thing you're trying to meet. No, not the rover lander debris, but the space station core, set as target. So you left click on the item in the map and set as target, and that will just give you all sorts of helpful hints. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put this into an orbit without showing you guys, because I don't want to take up a bunch of my videos showing you putting things into orbit. So I will do that. However, you should note, especially, well, you want your orbit to be of a different height to your target's orbit initially. And in this case, our target is beyond the launch pad, so I'm going to have to catch it up. And in order to travel faster than it, I will have to have a lower orbit. So I'm going to set up an orbit that's ever so slightly lower than our target, and then I'll rejoin you and show you about rendezvous stuff. So see you in a bit, guys. Let's launch. Welcome back. As you can see, we're onto our orbital maneuvering stage, and I've started to use it. And what I've done is I've set up an orbit that is ever so slightly smaller, lower than the orbit of my target. Now, as you can see, because I've set it as my target, I now have these very useful guidelines as to where it's going to be in comparison to my craft. So this is where it's going to be with the dotted line, and this is where I'm going to be when it's there, or equally this is where it's going to be when I'm there, if that makes sense. And there's 2 of these because I intersect its orbit twice apparently, but my periapsis is down at 119 and my apoapsis is at 123, so it's hardly a perfectly circular orbit. But the important part is, because it's smaller, I can warp up, although admittedly my warp's going to get slower as I get round to my periapsis. It's below the 125,000 threshold, I think. 120,000, yeah. But nevertheless, it's shorter, lower, smaller, so I'm going faster, so these are going to get closer together. So there you see, that distance is actually shorter than the one that was here was. And we're going to keep in warping around. Obviously you could achieve this faster with a bigger difference in the orbits, but for the sake of careful, controlled, wanting to get this right first timeness, I'm going to do it. What's this debris? Oh, it's all rover lander stuff. I hope that doesn't crash into my space station at any point. Anyway, I'm going to continue warping around until I get close enough. I might adjust my orbit a little bit because this is taking quite some time, but I'm gonna, until I get my orbit close enough that I can start the next stage of orbital maneuvers. But as you can see, I'm starting to get these positions closer and closer, and it is taking quite a bit of time in game, but it's not a huge issue. So I'll see you guys when these are close together. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone around quite, well, I say quite a few. I've gone around a few more times, and our 2 station pieces have come a lot closer together, and as you can see, our intersect over here and now over here are going to be rather close, and it should be close enough that you see a slight change to the nav ball. Let's have a look, see if it happens here as we get this close. Obviously we're only going to get closer until until the dotted line comes before. Okay, so that's probably the closest we're going to get before we start going in front of it. No change to the nav ball yet, so let's speed it up, see if we can get... There we go. You probably spotted it before I did. Now we have changed from orbit to target, and what this means is our speed is no longer relative to the planet, but it's now relative to our target, i.e. the core of the space station. As you can see, it's currently decreasing as we get closer to it, and then I believe once we pass it, it will get bigger again. But the idea is that as it comes up to the 0 point, or the point where we're travelling at exactly the same speed around Kerbin in our orbits, let me just see if there we go. Okay. So we know it's up there. That's our core. Sorry, I had that turned off somehow. I was fiddling with my F buttons to see if I could get back to it. And if you look, our target speeds continue to come down. So what we need to do now, that we're really rather close. I mean, 13 kilometers may seem a long way, but the speeds that these vessels can travel at means that that's actually a relatively short distance. So what I want to do now is sort of stabilize my position so I don't go shooting off back around my orbits faster than it's going and end up way in front of it and having to increase my orbit to slow down. So what I'm going to do is find out my... so I should explain navball pieces if I'm trying to explain this. The pink circle is where you point directly at your target. The prograde is now your direction of travel relative to the target. So although I'm not actually travelling in that direction, if I were to leave it, that I would be travelling that side. I would travel over that side of the target. And if we now find our retrograde, this is the opposite direction to the target. If we face that pink sort of triangle formation, see, now my booster's facing the target. And this is the retrograde to where this is the opposite direction we're going, again, relative to the target. So it's all, the nav ball is now entirely relative, and all I'm going to do is increase the warp until our until we get to our sort of maximum distance or minimum distance, and then I'm going to change the orbit so that we... Okay, now you can see it's shooting past because it's only 5 kilometers away, and all I'm going to do now is make it stop so that there's no... We are travelling at the same speed, and the way to do that is to reduce your target speed by boosting at the retrograde of your target, which I hope makes sense given the brief explanations I've just provided for all the different navball elements. So there we go, 9 meters per second, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and as we get closer to 0, this is going to wobble around more and more because it doesn't know quite where it is, and the slightest movement can make a change to it. 0.6. See, now it's almost directly facing our target, or rather the opposite direction to our target, and now it's doing a sort of flickering, disappearing thing, and all I'm going to do is boost in the direction of our target. And what this is going to do, hopefully, first of all, is adjust our orbit so that, as you can see, it's saying we're only going to intersect the orbit once, and it's going to be here. But the idea here is that we're now going to travel towards our target, and we're going to try and keep that as close to this as possible by boosting and stopping and boosting and stopping. So I'm going to boost up to get it back on target, like so. Then I'm going to warp a bit. It's going to drift off the target. I'm going to boost it back on, and it's going to drift off again. All the while I'm getting close to the target. See, here it comes back again. Now you've got to be careful doing this. Every now and then you might need to kill all of your speed because you don't want to get too close too fast to the target. See, now I'm doing quite a high speed to get it back to where it needs to be. And when I warp up, we're going to get quite close quite quickly. So I'm going to keep doing this until the target comes into a nice clear view, and I'll bring you guys back. So now you can see our orbits have synced up perfectly, and there it is over there. There's the core, 400 meters away. And as you can see, we're going to drift slowly towards it at about 2 meters per second. So all I'm going to do is tell my spacecraft just to hold it right there, and I'm going to set the warp speed up. Now you've got to watch out for collisions. Even at low speeds like this, they can blow up everything. And as we get even closer, this is where the fun starts. So all I'm going to do is decouple our maneuver stage, and then just check I'm on the right thing, yes, and get rid of it. And then go back to the tracking station, switch back to the solar array. And again, you don't have to do that. I mean, maybe for the sake of realism you wouldn't, but I do it because I don't like having debris in the way when I'm trying to maneuver. Now, when you do that, you need to reset your target, and here comes the important bit. When you're this close, you want to set the target not just to the craft as a whole, and admittedly this is easier from closer, but to the exact docking port that you want to dock to, and then you want to control your craft from the docking port that you're going to dock to the docking port with. I hope that makes sense. Probably doesn't. Probably sounds like the ramblings of a madman. So, there's that. All I'm going to do now is wait till we're relatively almost lined up in a way, and then I'm going to switch my RCS on, but not my SAS, because my SAS wobbles my RCS around, causing all sorts of trouble. And then H on the keyboard is boost forwards, so I'm using that to reduce my speed to nothing. And N is boost backwards, and then L, J, K and a bunch of other keys are what do the rest of them. So yeah, you have to use those to make sure you're... Oh my goodness, okay. Sorry, this is going to be hard to talk and do, but all I'm doing now is lining up my docking port, which is what my nav ball is sort of looking from, and I'm going to press T. So now my docking port is looking exactly at that docking port, and all I'm going to do is take T off, put R on, press H a few times, so we've got a bit of forward momentum, take R off again, put T back on again, and now comes the fun part. We warp up so that we're actually moving through time and not through space, if that makes sense. Obviously that sounds like complete rubbish, because it is. And now you can see we're actually moving in the wrong direction, but luckily all the speeds are incredibly low, so all I'm going to do is go to the opposite side to the side we're travelling and move our target back on target, I guess. And then I'm going to point myself, and all the movements I do are without RCS, because RCS has an effect on your velocity, so it's important not to. And actually, before I warp up, I'm going to reduce my speed by pressing N a bit, because I don't want to go too hard. And now I'm going to warp up and just see as we come closer. You can see the world turning. We're approaching very slowly, and then once more I'm going to reduce my speed, and I'm going to like that. Let's see. We should make a very light contact. Now you don't want your SAS on once you make contact, because they have almost magnets in them, and the magnets find it hard to push against the SAS. So at this point, when we're very close to achieving a dock, I'm going to switch over to my other craft, and again going to control it from the dock and target the other dock, and I'm going to take SAS off, and I'm going to very gently move towards my target, and then tell it to hold steady again, and then I'm going to switch back to this one. Again, control from here, you have to do this every time, set as target, and then as you can see we're drifting away, so I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to look at my target. I don't believe I'm controlling it from the right place, but I might well be. I think I am actually. Okay, as you can see we're slightly missing here. Now the way to adjust this is to go into docking mode, take SAS off, put RCS on, and then WAS to become very directional movements. Now the trouble is, unless you have a very well balanced spacecraft, it will twist slightly as you use the sideways commands, but that's alright because I can move sideways and then move back once I'm... So look, I go sideways, stop the sideways movement, go forwards, then reverse the sideways movement and reverse the forwards movement. Oh, but you don't want to do anything with big movements. I'm actually going to hold it there. As you can see, we've sort of messed it up, if you like. This is a process that takes a lot of time and practice. And admittedly that's something I lack, although I know the details of sort of how it works. Why have you no longer my targets? Control from here. Also, a lot of quick saving helps. I haven't actually been doing it this time, foolishly, but it does help a lot to have plenty of quick saves to back up from if you get it close and then do what I've just done. So I'm going to get you back when I'm literally docking, and that will end the episode. And could it be once it's straight you press T? Oh, look at that. Perfectly done. Well, not perfectly done, but done. Let me just warp up time so we get some sunlight. And let me demonstrate the features of the solar panel. These are meant to be quick little bit part tutorials, and they've turned into well, this definitely turned into a slightly longer episode because it's a slightly more complex issue, I guess. But nevertheless, we've done it. Now, admittedly, one thing that irks me is that the solar bar is not on the same plane as the communications rig, but that can be very easily changed. You undock, and then without changing your direction you're pointing in, you spin, and then you redock, and that's very simple. So I will do that off camera before next episode, when we'll be adding another module, even cooler, with some little features that I want to talk about that I think are important to space stations. But thank you for watching part 2. Before we go, let's open up our panels. If you're wondering, my batteries are actually stored on the core, not on the power unit, but you can put them wherever you like. Obviously power can go through these, or equally you can disable it if you don't want them to. But there we go, that's my power solution, which should put us in a good stead for power. I mean, that's a pretty huge solar array. Like I said, thanks for watching, guys. See you in part 3 of my space station build, where we add a very cool little module. Bye. What on earth is happening? What is that? What is going to get inside Kamsky? It's shaking itself to pieces. Oh my god. Kamsky, get inside right now. Kamsky, get inside. Oh dear, find an empty module quick, Kamsky. Okay,